The Haunting of the Bus Stop, 7 Sinister Legends Exposed and the Terrifying Truth Revealed. Mia's heart pounded like a drum as she walked down the dimly lit streets with her 10-year-old daughter, Sophie. Every evening, the world around them seemed more threatening, shadows dancing in the corners of her vision. It began like any other night, Sophie buzzing with excitement about her day at school, oblivious to the growing dread that clawed at her mother's insides. The bus stop loomed ahead, an innocuous gathering point turned unsettling fortress. Rumors whispered through the neighborhood, the tales of the bus driver who lured children into night, slipping them away without a trace. Those stories were the fuel for Mia's anxiety, once just gossip over coffee, now etched into horrifying reality. As they neared the bus stop, the weight of the legends settled heavily on Mia's shoulders. She recalled the whispered secrets of sinister happenings, like a child's flickering shadow that lingered longer than it should. Sophie was bubbling over with stories of her friends, yet Mia's mind skated across the terrifying possibilities, shadows creeping closer, a white van lurking around corners, chilling vanishments that haunted the town. Hadn't she just heard the chatter at the diner about a child last seen there? Panic gripped her like a hand around her throat. One night, while finishing her shift at the diner, Mia overheard 2 women gossiping about recent strange events. Flickers of shadow at the bus stop, the chilling sighting of a white van, parents whispering in hushed tones about children who faded from view. It's just urban legends, she told herself, but the moment she stepped out into the night, the air turned electric, as if the world was racked with foreboding. Streetlights glared to life, flickering like stubborn stars in a blackened sky. Each step home felt longer, a sense of being watched prickling her skin. Were the neighbors smiling, or were they hiding something darker? Her instincts kicked into high gear when she pieced together unsettling truths about a local leader Mia had once held in high esteem. A man who, behind the facade of his perfect smile, was a harbinger of dread, using trust as a weapon against the unsuspecting. The bus stop transformed into a battleground, a front line against the malice threatening her daughter's innocence. Sophie didn't know, she was too young to grasp the dangers lurking just below their suburban surface. Determined to protect her, Mia made a hasty decision. One evening, she decided to shadow Sophie's bus ride, believing she could keep the threads of safety tightly woven around her daughter. As they waited together, an unnatural chill settled into the air, sending an icy grip down Mia's spine. Desperation clawed at her heart. The street around them pulsed with an undercurrent of menace. Just as Sophie turned with excited eyes to share another storytelling moment, a figure emerged from the shadows, his smile all too wide, all too knowing. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The figure drew closer, the tension thickening in the air, becoming a living thing. Mia's instincts screamed for her to snatch Sophie's hand and run, but her feet felt rooted to the ground, weighed down by a crushing fear. The tales of the bus driver were no longer harmless whispers. They became tangible threats, a reality fast approaching. Sophie hadn't seen the danger yet, but Mia's got twisting the line between safety and peril until it bled together, leaving only one burning question: was this the man meant to save them or meant to harm? And as he moved within arm's reach, the mist of nightmares thickened, the answer teetering on the edge of that moment. Would they escape, or were they already ensnared by the very legends meant to protect? The man stepped closer, the streetlights flickering ominously around him, casting distorted shadows that twisted and turned like dark tendrils reaching for Mia and Sophie. His smile widened, revealing teeth that seemed too large, too white against the backdrop of the encroaching night. "Ah, the lovely little girl, aren't you precious?" His voice dripped with sickly sweetness that made Mia's skin crawl. Sophie giggled, unaware of the danger, and clung to her mother's side. Mia felt her heart race, each beat echoing like thunder in her ears as she struggled to summon the words to chase this man away. "Can we help you?" Mia managed, voice trembling, desperately trying to project calm. Inside, dread twisted like a knife. "I'm just here to make sure everyone gets home safe," he responded, tilting his head slightly. The light caught the glint in his eyes, something monstrous lurking behind the playful facade.
Mia's instincts screamed.
She had heard about men like him before: charm, misdirection, manipulation. The bus driver of the legends was not just a figure of folklore, he was alive and standing right in front of them. Visibly shaken, she squeezed Sophia's hand tighter, a silent warning. We need to wait for the bus," Mia stuttered, backing away, urging her daughter to stay close. "Oh, but you could wait with me," the man said, his tone shifting as he took another step forward. "I know stories too, stories that would make your hair stand on end. Wouldn't you like to hear one?" Sophie's eyes widened with curiosity, breaking the tension momentarily. "I love stories," she squeaked, but before Mia could utter a word, the warmth of her daughter's excitement felt like an icy dagger. "No!" Mia's voice pierced through the night, slicing through the creeping chill. "We're fine." That edge alone ignited a flash of anger in the man's demeanor. The smile faded, replaced by a chilling calm that sent waves of fear crashing over Mia. "I think you misunderstand," he said softly, menacingly. "The stories I know aren't for children, but I think you both might find them quite enlightening." Suddenly, the air thickened, panic wrapping itself around Mia like a vice. The shadows stretched, merging into something more sinister, hiding secrets she feared to unleash. "Mom, can we go?" Sophie murmured, sensing the tension. Mia could feel that knot in her stomach tighten further. She couldn't bear to look into the man's eyes, the predatory glimmer lurking behind his facade. "Let us move back," she said firmly, grabbing Sophia's hand more tightly now as she began to back away from him, step by trembling step. Every instinct screamed to flee. But as she turned, the faint honking of a vehicle echoed through the darkness, overwhelming the thrumming in her ears. She reached the edge of the curb just as headlights sliced through the night, illuminating the figure momentarily. In the bright light, he seemed less threatening, but only for an instant. As the bus turned, the man's grin split across his face once again, a stark contrast to the shadows creeping closer. "Remember, Mia," he called out, his voice suddenly echoing with an unnatural resonance, "not every bus will lead you home." Shivers coursed through her as she boarded the bus, still holding tightly to Sophie. The doors closed with a heavy thud, and she felt a sense of temporary relief wash over her, until she heard a soft whisper. "Next stop, the stories come alive." Mia's heart dropped, the warm sensation of safety suddenly chilling as the bus pulled away from the stop. What had she allowed them into? What stories awaited them now that they felt trapped? In the fading glow of the streetlight, she glimpsed him disappear back into the shadows, his laughter lingering on the wind, a horrifying symphony echoing in her mind. What did his words mean? And as the bus rattled down the desolate road, the buzzing anxiety returned. Was there a truth she was yet to discover, lurking beneath the surface of the very legends she had feared? What awaited her and Sophie on this bus ride, laced with secrets and shadows? The bus shook as it navigated the empty streets, and the air inside felt heavy with tension. Mia glanced at Sophie, who was peering out of the window, her small face illuminated by the dull glow of the passing streetlights. Mia wanted to shield her from the unknown, but how could she protect her from something she didn't fully understand? "Everything's going to be okay," Mia whispered, though her voice trembled. "Just stay close to me, sweetheart." Sophie nodded, but her eyes remained glued to the darkness outside. The bus driver, a shadowy figure with deep-set eyes, didn't speak a word. He seemed consumed by the road ahead, oblivious to the eerie sensation enveloping them. Mia's heart raced as she shifted nervously in her seat. The man's words replayed in her mind, taunting her with a sense of impending doom. Not every bus leads home. What did that even mean? Suddenly, the lights flickered overhead. A flicker that felt like an omen. Sophie jumped slightly, clearly unsettled. "Mom, I don't like this," she whimpered, clutching her stuffed bear tighter. Mia leaned in closer to Sophie, speaking softly. "I know, honey, but we'll be off soon. Just hold on." The familiar comfort of her daughter's presence brought some relief, yet it was overshadowed by the drumming panic in her chest. The bus slowed down, rumbling to a stop at a dimly lit intersection where the lights had all but gone dark. "This isn't our stop," Mia murmured, her stomach sinking. Something felt off. The driver remained silent, eyes locked on the road. "Where are we?" Sophie asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Let us just wait," Mia replied, forcing a smile she didn't feel. But seconds stretched into an eternity, and the silence deepened. making her skin prickle with apprehension. She could sense that something was wrong beyond the stuffy air, and unshakable dread settled around them, like a thick fog.
Next stop, the stories come alive.
The driver suddenly announced, his voice low and raspy.
Mia's blood ran cold.
It was as if he was mocking her, feeding into her fears.
What do you mean?
She blurted out, but the driver didn't respond, his expression unreadable, shadowed by the dim light. She felt Sophie tense beside her. Panic surged as she realized the streetlights flickering outside were nothing more than fading memories. The world beyond those windows felt both ethereal and sinister. Mia, fueled by instinct, reached for the bus door, ready to flee. "I think we need to get off," she said, urgency hammering in her voice, but before she could act, the bus jerked forward suddenly, and Mia felt her heart plunge into her stomach. It sped on, the streetlights becoming mere flickers in the distance, each illuminating a darkness that seemed to swallow them whole. With every jolt, a feeling of despair clung to her. Shadows danced beyond the glass, their shapes mocking. She turned to Sophie, whose eyes brimmed with tears now. "Mom, I'm scared," she whispered. The bus rounded a corner, and the darkness deepened.
The driver's incessant silence became oppressive.
It pressed against Mia, drawing out her desperation.
"What if we never get home?" Sophie's voice trembled as if sensing Mia's growing dread. "Listen, we will,"
Mia replied, fighting back her own terror. But as the blurring scenery outside turned into an ominous whirl, another flash of light caught her eye.
It was a shadow flitting by, too quick to comprehend, yet hauntingly familiar.
The chill of recognition rushed over her, then, a sound reverberated within the bus, a low, monstrous growl that chilled her bones.
What was that?
Sophie breathed, eyes wide in terror, and for the first time, Mia saw panic reflected back at her. No words came to life, they both peered into the darkness. The lights above flickered once more before plunging them into an abyss. In that freezing stillness, the air filled with the scent of decay, a warning, a sign of what lay ahead, and the legends were coming to life. Mia held Sophie tighter, fear tightening its grip.
What waited for them beyond the veil of darkness, where shadows revealed their secrets? Then, from
the corner of her eye, she caught a glimpse of movement near the back of the bus, and the primal instinct to scream was swallowed by the encroaching terror.
What had they signed up for?
And as the bus careened further into the darkness, the story spun closer to their reality. A low humming resonated through the metal confines of the bus, and it felt as if the darkness itself was laughing at them. Mia's heart raced as the movement at the back of the bus grew more pronounced.
A form swayed in the shadows, silent but unsettling.
Her instinct screamed danger, urging her to bolt from her seat.
"Hold on tight, Sophie," she said, trying to sound brave, though her voice cracked.
The girl squeezed her stuffed bear, its worn seams a comfort in the inky gloom.
"What is it, Mom?"
Sophie whispered, her little voice trembling like a leaf blown by a frigid wind. Mia turned, her gaze fixed on that dark shape. It was there, just out of sight, but she could feel its malevolence tugging at the edges of her mind.
The quiet tension amplified into a symphony of dread, compressing the air.
"Maybe it's just the driver," Mia offered weakly, though she knew deep down that she was lying. The driver had not met their eyes once. He was a spectator in this horror. As if on cue, the bus hit a bump, and the lights flickered again, illuminating the form just long enough for Mia to discern a gaunt figure, flat as a shadow, with oddly long limbs.
Panic surged as Mia's grip on Sophie tightened. "Why isn't he stopping?"
Sophie whimpered, her face pale.
"I don't know."
"Just stay close," Mia managed, feeling sweat beading on her brow. The growling returned, deeper and more guttural, reverberating in Mia's bones.
Something was coming into their world, and it was hungry.
Mia forced herself to look away from the figure, desperate to distract Sophie.
"Look, out the window. Can you see anything?"
she asked, trying to pull her daughter from the gripping fear. Low-hanging clouds veiled the moon, darkening everything outside further. The shadows played cruel tricks, with branches twisting like claws, trying to snatch at the bus. "We're going to find a way out," Mia said more to herself than Sophie, but a familiar feeling crept back in despair tinged with inevitable loss.
"What if we're stuck?" Sophie's voice quivered as if sensing what lay ahead. "Chin up, babe."
"Just another bump in the road," Mia said, fighting the growing despair clawing at her insides.
Suddenly, the bus lurched violently, throwing them against their seats. Screams erupted around them from 3 passengers huddled near the back, their faces calcified in horror. They were all witnessing the impossible as the gaunt figure lurched forward, its elongated limbs stretching in unnatural angles. "Mom! It's coming!" Sophie shrieked, burying her face in Mia's shoulder. The bus swayed wildly, careening around another corner as the driver's eyes, once indifferent, gleamed like a predator. He leaned into the steering wheel, a smile creeping across his face, illuminated only by the fading light of their surroundings. "Next stop, the stories!" he rasped, his voice a haunting melody that echoed in the confines of their minds. Sophie glanced back, and terror flooded her eyes anymore. "No! We want to get off!" But before Mia could respond, the gaunt figure lunged forward, horrid jaws slashing through the air, an abyss of teeth and darkness. The bus went still. The relentless growling morphed into a horrific cacophony of laughter, echoing like tortured spirits through the stale air. Mia flinched, realizing the truth that lay bare before them. They were far from safe, and whatever haunted this bus was just getting started. "What's real?" Sophie cried, desperation infusing her words. Mia felt the world spin around her as she attempted to gather her strength, to fight against the horror gripping their souls, and in that moment, she knew, they weren't just passengers. They were part of the story now, the very tale woven into the fabric of nightmares. Just as the air grew heavy, a faint whisper teased at the edge of her mind, "Not every story has a happy ending." What did that mean? What fate awaited them in this hellish ride? The shadows danced, beckoning her to look deeper, but fear had frozen Mia's thoughts. Could they escape, or would they become the next lost story? The laughter faded, replaced by an unholy silence that wrapped tightly around Mia and Sophie. Mia's heartbeat pounded in her ears, drowning out the feeble whispers of the other passengers. She could feel Sophie trembling against her side, the child's tiny body shaking like a leaf in a storm. "Mia!" a voice called out, shivering through the quiet, severed from the chaos they had just witnessed. It was a man, trembling yet desperate, gripping the back of the seat in front of him. "We need to get off this bus, now." "Shoo!" Mia hissed, glancing at the driver, whose smile remained fixed in an eerie grimace. His eyes glowed in the dim light, and Mia could sense that their pleas fell onto deaf ears. "We need to stay calm." Panicking won't help, but before she could finish, the gaunt figure reappeared, inching closer, its long limbs stretching impossibly, shoulders arching like a twisted tree. The fleshless grin widened, revealing teeth that glinted in the fading light like jagged stones. "Mom, it wants me," Sophie whimpered, her voice barely a whisper, yet the words struck like ice through Mia's veins. "Don't say that." "It's not going to take you," Mia tried to reassure, her words hollow against the gathering despair. The air in the bus felt thick, heavy like a dark fog that threatened to swallow them whole. Suddenly, the driver slammed the brakes, propelling bodies forward in a dizzying moment of chaos. Seats creaked as people cried out, some clutching their heads in confusion, others screaming. "Get us out of here!" a woman shrieked. "Please! Mia! Look!" Sophie cried, pointing towards the front. The gaunt figure was now right beside the driver. He seemed hypnotized, still smiling as if he were part of a macabre dance. With a sudden jerk, the bus lurched into motion again, but they weren't moving forward. Instead, it spiraled in a circle, the interior filled with shadows that twisted chaotically. Mia's vision blurred as each rotation introduced new horror, new possibilities of wrongness. "We can't let it win. We have to." Mia's mind raced, searching for a way to break free. "We need the emergency exit," she finally said. Sophie nodded, her grip tightening on the bear. But as they prepared to move, more figures seemed to melt out of the darkness, floating into view, spirits of the bus's past, lost souls trapped in this hellish ride. Their faces twisted in eternal suffering, echoing a mournful wail that made Mia's skin crawl. "What are they?" Sophie trembled, nuzzling her face back against Mia's shoulder. "They're just shadows, just shadows." Mia mumbled, though her heart shattered a little more with each word. They were the victims, the next stories crafted by the sinister driver. Without warning, the gaunt figure lunged, its body bending at impossible angles as it angled for Sophie. "No!" Mia screamed, throwing herself in front of her child. their eyes locked, fear mingling with a desperate need to protect. But the air electric with dark energy surged once more, and the laughter peaked again, a symphony of malice. Mia! The desperate passenger shouted, scrambling to the emergency exit but hesitating, frozen by terror. What do we do? There was no option left. They had to confront this nightmare. What if we fight? Mia shouted, her voice trembling but stronger than she felt. What if we face it together? Breath rushed in and out, time warped as silence shimmered, the world around them holding its breath. Just then, the lights flickered and went out entirely, plunging them into complete darkness. Fear clawed at Mia's throat, but she felt Sophie squeeze her hand. "Mom, I'm scared," Sophie whispered, and in that moment, the weight of terror bore down on them with crushing force. "Me too, sweet girl," but we have to believe. Before she could finish her thought, the lights flickered back to life, illuminating the gaunt figure poised directly in front of them. It moved closer, a twisted smile stretching across its face, and behind it, the driver's eyes glimmered with maddening glee. The ghostly faces hovered around, each one filled with a mixture of hope and despair. What would they do now? As Mia's heart raced, she felt the bus begin to vibrate violently, like an animal ready to break free. The cacophony of gasps rose around her, merging with the sound of the shadows, a celebration of their imminent end. In that moment, the gaunt figure tilted its head, as if sensing their resolve. "We'll end this," Mia shouted, pushing Sophie back slightly. "Together!" And just like that, she realized, maybe this was not only about survival, it was a call to reclaim their story from the twisted tales of terror. But darkness enveloped them again, thick and relentless, drowning the hope brightening in Mia's heart. Where would they land when the ride ended? Would they escape the claws of the untold stories, or fall deeper into the abyss? Time would tell. The lights flickered on and off, casting jarring shadows against the contorted faces that filled the bus. Mia could feel the oppressive weight of dread wrapping around her, squeezing her lungs. The gaunt figure loomed closer, its smile twisting into a grotesque sneer. "Mia!" A voice echoed from somewhere behind her, filled with panic. "What do we do?" "You have to keep moving," she urged, pushing Sophie down, shielding her. "We have to find a way out." In the chaos, the other passengers began to stir, a mix of confusion and horror spreading like wildfire. Mia's heart raced. The gaunt figure was circling now, taunting them with its unnerving movements. Each step seemed practiced, calculated, as if it reveled in their fear. "Let us get to the back." She grasped Sophie's hand tightly, pulling her along. The bus vibrated violently beneath their feet, creating an eerie thrum that resonated with the fears bottled up in everyone around them. The air crackled, sharp like static electricity, intertwining with the shrieks and sobs of the desperate crowd. "Mom!" Sophie cried out, her voice quivering as she struggled to keep up. I can't just hold on to me." Mia propelled them forward, scanning the dimly lit interior. Every passenger looked trapped in a trance, their eyes glazed over with a mixture of terror and hopelessness. Memories clouded Mia, visions of their lives hijacked by the creature that hunted for satisfaction from their fear. Mia, another voice broke into her frantic thoughts. A young man with wild eyes stood frozen near the front. "It's not just a bus, it's a trap. It feeds off fear. We need to stop it." His words were heavy. Mia felt like the weight of the bus itself pressed down on her. The gaunt figure had shifted its attention, moving back towards them, like a predator savoring the hunt. "Can we fight it?" Sophia's small voice squeaked from beside her, breaking the suffocating tension, yet rattling through Mia like an electric shock. "Yes, sweet girl, we can fight it," Mia declared, though she felt a gnawing fear that it might just be a lie. Suddenly, the driver turned in his seat, his unnatural grin wider than before, mouth opening to reveal unnatural darkness that seemed to breathe. "You can't escape me," he cackled, and the bus trembled as if it were alive. "It's a mind game," the young man shouted again. "We have the power to resist." "Focus," Mia yelled through gritted teeth. "Together, right now." With a surge of adrenaline, a wave of determination built up inside her. She could sense it was now or never.
As the bus pitched and groaned, Mia squared her shoulders and waved her free hand, trying to rally the others.
Listen. We fight our fear together.
A few passengers murmur in hopeful agreement. A man in a dark sweater found his voice.
What do we do?
Mia glanced around, eyes darting as panic surged anew.
We shout. We scream. We let it take us.
Something deep inside told her it was the only way to break the sinister hold this bus had on them. Sophie squeezed her hand, her little fingers hot and trembling, yet Mia noticed a flicker of courage in her eyes.
I'm not scared, she said, her voice slightly steadier. Me neither, echoed the young man.
The gaunt figure halted, tilting its head in sudden confusion, as if sensing the shift in the air. The shadows that surrounded the bus hissed softly, swirling tighter.
We're not afraid.
Mia yelled louder this time, pumping her fists.
We are, but before she could finish, the lights flickered out again, deeper than before, swallowing her voice whole. Mia felt the wave of darkness crash down, absorbing everything with a steadfast pull.
And then, out of the stillness, a new sound broke, a haunting melody threading through the haze, laced with despair, but soaked in hope. It was familiar, luring them closer, but also warning.
Mia gripped tighter onto Sophie, the child trembling between her mother's resolve and the song. What is that?
Sophie whispered, eyes wide.
I don't know, Mia murmured, her heart racing once again, a strange mixture of fear and anticipation swelling within her, but there was no time to formulate an answer.
The lights burst back on, and the gaunt figure stood before them, taller, angrier. Its mouth, once grinning, now opened wide in a scream that shattered the air, reverberating through their souls. Suddenly, the bus jerked violently, and the world outside seemed to dissolve. Mia grabbed Sophie, her heartbeat thunderous in her chest.
Mia! Sophie's terrified gaze fixed on her. What is happening?
They were caught in the swirling chaos. A final pull, like a dark tide, threatened to envelop them.
And just before the lights went out for good, a thought flashed in Mia's mind. What connection lay between them and the haunting song?
The answer loomed, but time was running out.
The darkness exploded around them, a black void swallowing everything whole.
Mia felt Sophia's small body trembling against hers, a heartbeat thrumming with pure terror. The walls of the bus twisted inwards, warping and compressing like a snake coiling tighter around its prey.
Keep your eyes on me,
Mia shouted, desperate to pierce through the enveloping shadows. Her voice echoed back at her, distorted and hollow, as if the bus itself was mocking her plea. The haunting melody ebbed and flowed, pulsing with a life of its own.
It wrapped around them like cold fingers, trying to pull them away from reality.
The flickering lights slashed through the darkness, revealing the churning faces of the passengers. They looked like puppets, jerking in grotesque motions, mouths moving but not a sound escaping, a chorus of silent screams that haunted the air.
Mia!
The young man with wild eyes stumbled towards them, his face ashen.
It's commanding them. We have to break the hold. Mia nodded, fierce determination igniting inside her. Together! She urged. Focus on the song.
The melody was a twisted lullaby that beckoned. It felt familiar, yet foreign, a siren song drawing them into oblivion. But Mia clung to that familiar thread, forcing her thoughts to sharpen.
We can fight this. Everyone, scream the words you remember.
A few voices quaked to life, hesitant at first. But as the song swelled, they bit back their unease, reciting fragments that echoed with memories.
Mia felt a jolt of encouragement as they fought against the oppressive darkness.
A flicker of light sparked from a woman's trembling lips. Suddenly, the gaunt figure lunged, sharp fingers reaching out, hungry for their fear. It howled in fury, drowning out their voices, and in that single heartbeat, Mia sensed the fragile barrier between despair and hope.
Yell it! She commanded. Yell!
The collective voices surged, filling the bus with a cacophony of sound.
Each shout became a lifeline, a thread intertwining hope and defiance. With each word, the bus shuddered as if caught in a tempest, the very fabric of their reality twisting and screaming against the burgeoning noise. The gaunt figure paused, its menacing gaze flickering between them and the shadows that erupted from its form.
The shadows hissed, recoiling as the light intensified, pushing out against the encroaching dark, but just as it seemed their combined force might break the creature's hold, the haunting melody shifted. It morphed into a dissonant ringing, clawing at their minds. Suddenly, the bus lurched violently, tossing passengers like ragdolls, knocking Sophie to the ground. "M.O.M." Sophie's wail pierced through, raw and shrieking. Mia's heart shattered as she lunged for her daughter, the world around them spinning into chaos. "Mia!" The young man hollered, desperation seeping into his voice as he fought against the thrumming tide. "Get to the back. You have to fight it." Mia bellowed, her voice cracking. She crouched, desperately grasping for Sophie, her breath coming in harsh gasps. But another sharp jab of fear wrenched at her heart. Sophie was clutching her head, eyes wide and glazed, entirely detached from the moment. The child's scream turned into a fractured whisper, "I see them, Mom, they're all around us." The shadows flickered, shifting, and forming into faces she recognized. Friends. Strangers. All victims, lost and distorted in a hell of their own making. "Mia!" The man yelled again. "We have to break their illusion. Focus." In a haze of dread and urgency, Mia scrambled closer, gripping Sophie's shoulders. "Listen to me. Remember who you are," she urged desperately, facing her daughter. "We're not lost. We're here together. You're not alone." The echoes of their memories rang within her mind, pushing back against the sinister song, a recollection of laughter, of safety. It flickered like hope, a candle against the impending night. Sophie blinked rapidly as if emerging from a dream, recognition and fear battling in her eyes. "Mom?" she murmured, and with that single word, Mia felt a sliver of warmth break through the frozen grip of terror. "Yes, it's me," Mia shouted, urgency flaring with conviction. "We can win this. Remember who we are." And just as Sophie nodded, the lights exploded into brilliance, and the haunting song transformed into shrieks of rage, reverberating through the fabric of reality. The gaunt figure lost its form, thrashing against the brightness, its shape shattering. But as the bus rolled suspended between chaos and clarity, Mia grasped one more terrifying thought: what if they broke free, only to discover a far worse reality awaiting them on the outside? The air buzzed with uncertainty, every heartbeat mixing fear with rising hope. And then, the world outside shifted once more, a tremor pulling at the edges of their sanctuary. Mia's heart raced as the tremors intensified, shaking the very bones of the bus. Panic surged through her, a primal instinct screaming to escape, to flee from whatever terror waited beyond their fragile sanctuary. The chaos inside lurked like a predator, inching closer as uncertainty gnawed at her resolve. "Mia!" It was the young man again, his voice straining against the cacophony. "We need to push through. If we break the darkness, we might find a way out." Mia nodded, though doubt wormed its way into her mind. What if breaking through only led them deeper into a nightmare? She cast a worried glance at Sophie, who still trembled beside her. "Can you hear me, Sophie? You're brave. Look at me." She gripped her daughter's shoulders tightly, grounding them both. The lights flickered, revealing glimpses of the other passengers. Their eyes were glazed over, reflecting a startled kind of fear that reminded Mia of trapped animals. "We have to keep fighting. Sing out. Grab hold of your memories," she urged, but her words felt like whispers in a raging storm. Sophie nodded, her breath hitching. What if they can't?" Mia swallowed hard. "No. We can't think like that. We're stronger together." She cupped Sophie's face, forcing her to look directly into her eyes. "You remember our song, right?" The faintest spark of recognition flickered in Sophie's gaze. "The one about the stars?" "Yes. That one. Let us use it." Mia threw her head back, summoning the words, her voice rising above the tumult. "Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are." She could barely hear the echo of her own voice as the bus trembled, the shadows curling around them like smoke. To her surprise, one by one, other voices joined in a hesitant choir of memories. As the melody grew stronger, the shadows wailed and recoiled, hissing in fury as light blossomed from their combined strength. Each word felt like a bolt of electricity chasing away the encroaching darkness. "Hold on!" the young man shouted, "don't stop!" Mia felt the power of their unity vibrate through her, but then the bus lurched again with a deafening crash, the roof shaking as if thunder had gripped them. Sophie stumbled, nearly falling, caught in that chaotic void of sound, light, and fear. "No! We can't give in!" Mia shouted, her breath coming out in frantic bursts. "Mom, help me!" Sophie gasped, the shadows clawing at her ankles, wrapping tight like barbed wire. Mia lunged, prying the darkness away, but it clawed back with a vengeance. Just when she thought despair might swallow them, the wailing morphed again. It was a keening sound now, almost sentient, resonating deep within the bones of the bus. Faces emerged, grotesque and distorted, from the shadows, flickers of lost souls, eyes full of agony and yearning. Mia's heart thundered. "We have to move!" she yelled over the wails. "To the back! Push forward!" With every ounce of strength, Mia fought against the shrieking swirling around them, pulling Sophie towards the rear. Each step felt like wading through treacle, the shadows gripping tighter. But they weren't alone. A wave of voices surged with her, bolstered by a fierce desire to escape. Suddenly, a blinding flash of light enveloped them, the air crackling. Mia shielded her eyes but could feel it in her bones. It felt warm, yet suffocating, drawing them into its embrace. The gaunt figure howled in rage, a sinister sound echoing in the newfound brightness, and just like that, the world outside snapped back into focus. The bus came to a stop, the doors flinging open under an unseen force. Mia gasped. The scene outside was surreal. A vast, swirling mist lay before them, obscuring anything familiar. Vague shapes loomed within it, constant, ebbing shadows that whispered promises of horror and despair. "Mom, what is that?" Sophie trembled, clutching at Mia's arm. "I don't know," Mia whispered, dread pooling at the base of her stomach. "But we have to take the first step." The moment lingered, every heartbeat loaded with an ominous weight of dread. What lay beyond the bus? What awaited them in this unnerving fog? Drawing in a determined breath, Mia took a step forward, holding Sophie's hand tightly. This was just the beginning. Could they confront the terror waiting, or would they be dragged back into the abyss? Mia's foot touched the ground, and a shiver raced up her spine. The mist curled around her ankles like a living thing, thick and insidious. It shrieked as if it had its own voice, promising despair with every whisper. Sophie clutched her hand tighter, her tiny fingers trembling. "Mom," Sophie's voice was barely audible, swallowed by the fog. "What if we can't find a way back?" Mia turned to face her daughter, summoning every bit of courage she could muster. "We can't think like that, Sophie. We have to move forward. Together." As they stepped out of the bus, the world shifted. The bus loomed behind them, a massive shadow swallowed by the dark. Mia glanced back. The bus doors slammed shut with a reverberating thud, stealing any retreat in a single motion. "Great," she muttered, her heart sinking. In the mist, an uneasy silence settled. It was a palpable force, heavy and thick, pushing against her from every angle. The shapes in the fog grew clearer, morphing and twisting into grotesque figures, each one seemingly more tormented than the last. They flickered in and out like static on a failing screen, their mouths moving but no sound came forth. "Don't look too close," the young man from the bus said, now standing beside them. His eyes darted nervously at the writhing forms. "They can sense fear and they thrive on it." Mia could feel her heart racing. She scanned her surroundings, searching for something familiar to latch onto. Everything was blurred, devoid of color, a world caught between reality and nightmare. "What do we do?" Sophie asked, her voice barely a whisper, trembling under dread. "We keep moving," Mia replied, pushing forward. They stepped deeper into the mist, the fog swirling around them like a living shroud. Each footfall felt like a weighty plunge, as if the ground below attempted to drag them into its depths. The air grew colder, biting at Mia's skin, drawing goosebumps across her arms. Suddenly, a cacophony of cries echoed from the mist, a relentless chorus of anguish. A figure lunged forward, stumbling through the fog, eyes wide with terror. It was another passenger from the bus, a middle-aged woman. "Help me! Please!" The woman gasped, her voice raw with panic. disheveled hair swirling around her like tendrils of smoke. Before Mia could grasp what to do, the shadows coalesced, reaching for the woman, claw-like hands emerging from the fog. They wrapped around her, pulling her backward into the depths of darkness. "Mom!" Sophie shrieked, covered her eyes in horror. Mia's heart pounded as she grabbed Sophie, trying to shield her from the sight. "Don't look! Keep moving!" But the woman's anguished screams echoed in her mind. They were drowned by something much worse, a primal fear rising within Mia. What if that was their fate too? Would they be the next to be consumed by this insatiable darkness? As they pressed forward, their breaths turned shallow and desperate. Mia glanced ahead, and in the thickness of the mist, a dim light flickered. It pulsed rhythmically like a heartbeat, tiny yet inviting. "Look, Sophie! There's something up ahead!" she exclaimed, hope flaring momentarily, but as they approached, the light distorted, twisting into macabre faces that grinned and grimaced. Shadows danced along its edges, revealing too much, yet never enough. "Stay close!" Mia shouted, wrapping her arm around Sophie protectively. As they drew closer, the air thickened again, pressure mounting with each step they took. Then suddenly, another figure, cloaked and terrible, drifted through the mist. Its face was a blur, a yawning void with hollow eyes that glimmered like dying stars. It opened its mouth, a black abyss of silence, and pointed directly at Mia. A whisper, malevolent and chilling, slithered through the air. "Only one can remain." Mia's blood froze, the weight of the ultimatum piercing deeper than any fear she had felt before. "What does that mean?" Sophie cried, her eyes wide with innocence, heart racing. Mia realized the horror of that moment, the gnawing truth that one of them might not survive. As icy dread gripped her heart, she heard the whispers grow louder. Choices loomed before them, but every decision felt like a step closer to sacrifice. Was this merely the beginning of their torment, or was there truly a path to salvation amidst the terror? Mia took a deep breath, ready to confront the shadows and the wickedness that threatened to tear them apart. Mia's breath came in ragged gasps as she tightened her grip on Sophie's hand. The shadows swirled around them, writhing like snakes eager to ensnare them in their grasp. "Only one can remain," echoed in her mind, an ultimatum that sent icy tendrils wrapping around her heart. She looked down at Sophie, her little face radiating both fear and trust. "We're not letting go of each other," Mia said fiercely, already determined to fight for both their fates. They could show the darkness it was wrong to assume it could tear them apart. Mia turned back to the figure in the mist, defiance igniting a fire deep within her. "What do you want from us?" she shouted. The figure's hollow eyes glimmered, the shadows thickening around its void-like form. It seemed to relish the fear rattling through the air. "Despair, my dear," it rasped, voice slick with malice. "One must pay to escape the clutches of your past. Only the strongest will survive." The phrase twisted like a knife, revealing the shadows of all who had been lost before, the countless souls that had succumbed to their own fears. "No!" Mia cried, a wave of defiance washing over her. "We can face our fears together. We won't let you take us." The shadows recoiled slightly, a ripple of hesitance disturbing their hungry mass as she shouted her truth, but the figure leaned closer, voice low and sinister. "One of you must go." Cherished bonds turned to chains in the face of survival. Mia could feel the ground beneath them tremble, energy shifting ominously. Mia's heart raced as the shadow began inching even closer. "Leave us alone," she commanded, her voice steady. Then, from the swirling mist, a faint glow flickered, a small, warm light. It pulsed softly like a candle flickering in the dark. Mia squinted into the haze, recognizing a familiar lullaby. It was the very song she had sung to Sophie countless times, a melody that had always soothed both their fears. "Do you remember, Sophie?" she asked, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and hope. "The song about the stars? Sing it with me." Sophie glanced up, eyes wide, uncertainty mingling with a spark of recognition. "Twinkle, twinkle, little star," she breathed, her tiny voice shaky but getting stronger with each word. Mia smiled, feeling warmth spread through her heart. "How I wonder what you are." As the melody soared into the air, the shadows writhed violently, hissing as if the light burned them. The figure, momentarily distracted, recoiled. The light began to expand, pushing the darkness away like the dawn casting out the night. With renewed determination, other voices joined in, passengers from the bus, drawn by the warmth of hope, instinctively singing along. Up above the world so high, Mia could feel the shift in the atmosphere, the shadows subsiding, the oppressive dread lifting as the combined strength of their voices filled the mist. "No!" the figure shrieked, its hollow face contorting in fury. "You think you can escape?" With a surge of energy, Mia shouted louder, reaching deeper into her soul. "Together! We are more than fear. We choose hope." And the final chord rang out, resonating through the night, a powerful declaration against the encroaching darkness. Light blazed fiercely, filling every nook and cranny, illuminating the twisted forms lurking beyond. The shadows hissed and shrieked, retreating as the warmth spread from their song. "We will not be trapped!" they cried as one, a defiant anthem of unity. Suddenly, the gaunt figure howled, the sound slashing through Mia's mind. The light enveloped them, pulsing stronger with every note, engulfing the darkness until it cracked and splintered. In that electric moment, the fog began to dissipate, lifting away the contours of despair. With a final, desperate lunge, Mia squeezed Sophie's hand. Together, they burst free from the swirling mist as it ripped apart, bright beams of warmth washing over them, filling the space that had once felt so suffocating. Everything expanded. And just like that, they emerged into a world painted with colors, vibrant and alive. The sun shone warmly on their faces, chasing away every remnant of the threatening shadows. The bus stood empty behind them, a relic of a past that had sought to bind them. Mia turned to Sophie, who looked up with wide eyes, still sparkling with remnants of fright but now filled with awe. "We did it, Sophie. We broke free." Sophie threw her arms around her mother, a joyful giggle escaping her lips. "We really did, Mommy. We won." Mia felt joy blossom in her chest, a comforting warmth blending with relief. It was then she understood love and courage had triumphed, banishing those sinister tales that sought to claim them. They were more than mere stories, they were the authors of their fate. In that joyous now, surrounded by the sunlit promise of a new day, Mia could feel the shadows receding behind them. They stepped forward together, hearts lighter, hands intertwined. As life welcomed them back, Mia turned to face the road ahead, ready to embrace whatever stories awaited, protecting the light they had ignited. And as the world spun into a new adventure, she knew there would always be shadows lurking, but together, they had the power to shine brighter. And now, if you enjoyed this thrilling conclusion, you need to subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and make sure more people hear these incredible tales. Don't wait even 1 second to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending, and remember, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support for our channel and dive into more heart-pounding stories.